May Yuk Wong.
Uh-huh.
I'm an artist and a writer.
Fantastic. Mayuk, some times ago you talked a little bit about umbrella movement, and I found that really fascinating. That's why I want you to tell me a little bit about the umbrella movement, so anybody who's not familiar with it get to know, get to hear about it.
Yeah.
So what is this umbrella movement?
This Hong Kong umbrella movement was started in 2014, possibly around late August or early September time. It lasted for 79 days. Basically, what the Hong Kong people ask for is full democracy. They want to have the right to choose their political leader, leader of Hong Kong.
So how was it before? Couldn't they just vote for their leader, or was it like, how was it?
The thing is, I need to talk about a little bit background about Hong Kong.
Please.
Hong Kong was a British colony for 150 years, and it was handed over to China on 1997, 1st of July. Why would Hong Kong people accepted to be handed over to China after the split for 150 years under the British rule? And most people are happy with the lifestyle or what we have, like freedom, even though we didn't have full democracy. But the two governments, the British and the Chinese government, they promised Hong Kong people, we come up with a good solution. We'll have one country, two systems. So for Hong Kong people, you can carry on with your lifestyle, your political system, your economy, or your social, everything is the same for at least 50 years. And they have the treaty called Joint Sino-British Declaration, signed in 1984. So both governments, they were happy to come up with this solution. However, on the negotiation table, Hong Kong people was not there. So basically, it's the two big governments decided the future of Hong Kong people. At that time, I think we have around 5 to 6 million people. Yeah. But as people passively accepted the situation back to China, and they thought maybe it's okay, maybe this time China will keep their promise. So people have been waited long time to have the full democracy. And I remember when I was in Hong Kong in 1988, we started to ask for direct election, but we didn't really get the full democracy. And after, say, like 21 years now, it's only 1,200 in the Special Select Committee. They have the vote to decide the leader of Hong Kong. So these 1,200 people out of 7 million people is like a very tiny, small circle.
So how come only this small fraction of people? Were they elected by the rest of the people?
They are very, it's a very strange arrangement. Say, people in their profession, for example, if you're a lawyer, so in your circle you can nominate, or somebody can nominate themselves to represent this group of people. So it's like, say, if I'm a housewife or I'm a student, who is going to represent me. It's a very tiny, small circle activity. And also within this 1,200 people, a lot of them, they know who to vote to please the Chinese government. That's why, I mean, people just find it enough is enough. We want to have the vote. And at the same time, actually, there's another movement called Occupy Central. It's similar to what happened in the West, Occupy Central. So people started to go to the center, the business commercial center, the main streets in Hong Kong, to voice their concerns, what they wanted, and gradually many people, they just went to the streets. Many of them are students in the university, but there are also high school, secondary school students. There are ordinary people, there are parents, grandparents, there are professional lecturers from the university. They went out, they have different speeches, and they have a lot of slogans. They make lots of different forums to let people to voice out. And as a whole, their main thing is they want to have the votes to choose their leader, their political leader.
Yeah.
It should be the right for every citizen in Hong Kong, and which is promised by both of the governments through British Sign-on Joint Declaration, and it's also in the Basic Law. However, after 21 years handover to China, the democratic development in Hong Kong is going backward. So people just feel like they can't really see the forward, how their democracy will move forward one day. They can have the right to vote, to have full democracy, not just the privileged people have more rights than any other ordinary people.
So this is how the umbrella movement started.
Why
Where
is
does the name come from?
Why is it called
Why
umbrella
is this
movement?
umbrella?
Why anything to do with the umbrella? It was very peaceful demonstration on the streets, and even some people, they show how they care about each other within the community. Like some people, secondary school student, they are doing homework on the street. And there's carpenters. They make tables and chairs for the student to study on the street. It's very positive, very peaceful thing. People sharing, it was hot, and people share their food and drinks. And then later on, the government wanted to finish them off. So they asked the police to come in and use like tear gas and some sort of force to get people out of the streets. And at that time, the people on the streets, the protesters, the activists, they got nothing to protect themselves. The only thing they have is the umbrellas. So they use the umbrellas to protect themselves. Hence came the name, the umbrella movement.
Interesting name, I must say. So did you say this movement, this sort of protest in the streets, lasted about 72 hours?
79 days.
Days? Okay,
so
that's quite
79
long.
days, almost 3 months.
Yeah.
All these people, some of them, they've been there for days, months, and weeks. And some of them, they take turns to come back, go home, have a rest, and come back again. So it's a very persistent way to show they wanted the full democracy.
So did they get what they wanted at the end? What happened?
I mean, in the end, they didn't. It was finished all by force, obviously, by the government. And some people felt very upset or deflated. It looks like their campaign, the movement, doesn't achieve what they wanted or doesn't achieve anything. But actually, if you really go online and search for Hong Kong umbrella movement, you will see a lot of coverage,
Yeah.
video, pictures, and it is also not just reported on the local level, it was international. A lot of BBC or Channel 4 or those world papers, the Times, whatever, they reported about this campaign. And somebody even mentioned about they want to nominate some of the leaders as a representative for Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay.
So it did raise a lot of coverage and concerns about the situation in Hong Kong. And I think after 21 years, we sometimes feel like nobody really remember what is Hong Kong, or not many people care about what's going on in Hong Kong. And through this umbrella movement, actually, a lot of people around the world started to think, oh, there's something going on in Hong Kong. I almost forget about it. And it helped them to think about what's going on in Hong Kong. I mean, a lot of people say they have kind of relationship with Hong Kong, or they have business, or they know somebody live in Hong Kong or work in Hong Kong. And if you say, I have families and friends in Hong Kong, of course I care about them. Or you have business in Hong Kong, you do think you want somewhere stable, that you can do a good business there. You don't want a chaotic city to run your business. So I hope people to care a bit more about Hong Kong. And I also think the British government, because this treaty is an international treaty, the British government should carry on, care about what's going on in Hong Kong. And I also have some say about it to talk to the Chinese government. Come on, you promised this, we both signed this treaty. Let's keep our promises.
Okay, so in your opinion, how does life of an average person has changed between before the handover and after in Hong Kong?
I left Hong Kong in 1998, so just 1 year after the handover. But I keep going back to Hong Kong every few years, and I have contact with my families and friends, and also I keep an eye on what's going on in Hong Kong. I can see, I mean, in the past, say before the handover, Hong Kong is no perfect, I have to say. But there are a lot of things that we used to have, like the freedom of speech, and the kind of the equality between, the gap between the rich and the poor is not as wide as now, I can say. For example, people still struggling with living conditions. Some people, they can't afford, even though they're professionals, they can't afford to have their own buy a property. And the size of a property is really, really tiny. The worst one, I remember cage homes or cage men. We describe people living in like a cage. So in this country, we can't really imagine, but it still happens in Hong Kong. So some people just living in a cage, in a property, they divide it into small cages with metal wires. Some of them are 2 layers, some of them are even 3 layers. So everything belongs to you is within this little
cage.
Is
this what is called? In native people call it cage as well.
In Cantonese we say "lồng ngốc," "lồng man," cage house, or cage homes, cage people.
Okay.
I mean, this is only one of the kind of worst living condition. And then some people even say you have a bit of money, the space you can buy, some of the new so-called flats is as small as a car park.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Everything you live in is within this car park space. And some people even need to stay. There is something new that it wasn't happened before is they call it McDonald's restaurant. They call it McDonald's refugees, because some people they don't have anywhere to sleep over.
Okay.
They stay in McDonald's restaurant in the evening until the next morning. They might go to work, but in the evening they have nowhere to stay.
Okay.
So this is another things that you can see in Hong Kong, which is very upsetting. But the city itself is very rich. They got a lot of reserve. Just the
I think
government hasn't used the money
that's the
properly.
problem with everywhere in the world. It's not that there isn't enough resources. The problem is that resources that is available is within the reach of a very small percentage of people, and the rest, they don't have access to it, unfortunately. I don't know what's the solution, and I do hope that one day we all come up with a better way of dividing the wealth and resources between people. But is there anything specific in relation to this umbrella movement or Hong Kong that you would like to add?
I know about after the umbrella movement, some people, especially the so-called main leaders, organizers of the movement, they were arrested. They were prosecuted first, and then they were arrested, and then they were sent to jails from like 6 to 9 months. And it's a shame that the city couldn't bear these young people's voice to send them into jails. It also affected their chance to be a candidate, to be elected in the future. So it is a very based on like political intention. And then there recently they tried to block one of the pro-independent party in Hong Kong. So they are kind of illegal. They won't have the chance to go for nominated and being selected as one of the candidates. So I just feel like the control over Hong Kong is getting stronger. Some people might choose to carry on. I just live in my small world. I'm not going to criticize the government. I'm not going to care about what's going on. Just carry on working. But for some people, they don't want to carry on living like this, and especially the younger generation. This is a kind of hope that I can see through this movement and the difficult situation in Hong Kong. If these young people, they feel like Hong Kong is their home, and they want to do something, even sacrifice their freedom or whatever, to fight for a better future of Hong Kong, then I can see hope. I think this is very important. Whichever we are living, wherever we are living, the main thing is how do we help in building the society, the community, the country that we are living. It doesn't really matter whether I come from Hong Kong or you come from another country, but we try our best to build the city, the country, and the wider world.
Yeah, the future for the next generation, hopefully. Thank you.